You know, every now and then an anime episode comes along that brings hope, love, beauty, confidence, reassurance of our faith in mankind, and pretty much a promise of a brighter future lying ahead. Yeah. This chapter ain't that. Hey guys, welcome to Khanvolution. My name's Khan, and right now I'm going to be discussing this incredibly heartbreaking and grim finale to RWBy Volume 3. Of course, I'm talking about Chapter 12, titled The End of the Beginning. And let's talk about this title real quick. A title like The End of the Beginning really makes it feel like Volumes 1, 2, and 3 are one whole story by themselves. You know, part 1 of a much grander RWBy tale, basically. If, you know, the RWBy is like this compendium, or all these volumes of an incredibly much larger story, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like their phase 1 in a way, and just like their phase 1, they basically take us on the journey of introducing us to the characters, having us become attached to them, instilling in us a curiosity about the world, and pretty much engaging us in a mystery at hand, and then pretty much raining fiery fury down on us like hell hath none. And if you guys are joining me right now, hopefully you've checked out my reaction to RWBy Volume 3 Chapter 12. In case you haven't, I'll leave the link in the description below as well as up here, so you guys can go ahead and check that out before joining back with me for this crazy discussion. But if you guys have, you'll know the crazy shit I went through in last chapter, man. I'm incredibly heartbroken by this story, of course, but I'm thoroughly intrigued by it, and I cannot wait to share more of my reaction going forward with RWBy with you guys. And it's so insane. You guys have been advertising this volume to me ever since I first started watching RWBy. Since I first started this channel, I was like, wait till you get to Volume 3, wait till you get to Volume 3. So several of you guys actually commented something like along the lines of, I can't wait till you get to Volume 3, dude, and I can't wait to watch you burn. And I'm like, god damn, that's kind of dark. And then I hear the last few lines uttered in this volume. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. You sneaky bastards. Oh, that's so crazy. You know, sneaking in a little spoilers without spoiling anything. That's so hilarious, dude. I freaking love it. Thank you guys so much for all your enthusiasm and excitement for me reacting to this series. I mean, it literally makes my job that much more fun in providing you guys this content. Thank you guys so much for your support, and I can't wait to hear your comments to this chapter specifically, because I'm wondering what was going through your guys' mind while watching this chapter also, you know? So please leave your thoughts down below, share your thoughts, share your enthusiasm, your comments. I don't always have an opportunity or the time to respond to every single one of your comments, but I do make it my job to read every single person's comments, because I love reading everybody's ideas and thoughts and everything like that. So please continue to comment, remain spoiler free. Of course, you guys have been doing a wonderful job at that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this crazy heartbreaking discussion. In 3, 2, 1, sun! Silhouette against the moon, dude, we halfway there. So I really have to say, this volume's ending really feels like a culmination of all the past volumes put together. Early Volume 1, we got hints of this phantom menace that's been growing within the city. I mean, setting up the mystery of who the villains are, what they are, the nature of their intention, and the grand stage where this performance will be set. And although we have a few answers, there's still a ton of questions that need to be explored. Like, who or what is this new villainous presence that has been revealed? What is magic really in this world? Who and where are the other maidens, and what is their ultimate purpose? What's the ultimate end game of this story, man? And will our heroes ultimately be able to overcome these tragic losses that they have suffered, and through them that we have suffered, you know what I'm saying? So in discussing this chapter, let's start at the beginning, the direct beginning, and with that crazy awesome fight between Cinder and Ozpin. This is the long-awaited display of Headmaster Ozpin's powers, and although quite brief, the fight was amazing to behold, I gotta say, man. The dude definitely held his own against the power of a maiden, so you know he good, and he's seen some shit, you know what I'm saying? If I had to make a guess about what Ozpin's powers are, I would say that his semblance is something like time manipulation or speed dilation. Yeah, I know he activated like that crazy green electrifying shield to guard against Cinder's flamethrower attack, but the way he dodged her shards, it reminded me how those agents from the Matrix dodged their bullets. Plus he does this weird tight-ass sword rain maneuver, jabbing Cinder with his cane at incredible speeds. It's just such a different cane fighting style than Roman, who uses his cane more like a heavy weapon, using the power of the cane rather than its speed. I mean, Ozpin's style is very similar to Weiss's fighting style in a way, with that quick fencing jab moves. So I think his semblance may be speed or some manner of time manipulation, I don't know. Now his semblance could be that green lightning energy field that surrounds him, but while rewatching that, I thought he just expanded his normal shield aura into a more spherical form. I don't know, that's just my idea. What do you guys think? However, the outcome of that fight didn't inspire too much confidence, as Cinder pretty much rose as the victor. At least that's what it felt like, that's what it looked like. I mean, the initial thought I had is, what the hell happened? Is he dead? No way, that's not possible, man. I mean, we just begun to see what this dude is capable of, right? They won't take him away so quickly, and then we get confirmation from Crow later on that this fool's missing. So maybe either he's gravely injured or found some way to escape. I guess only Cinder knows the truth. Either way, I don't think he's dead. He ain't going down like that. You know, that would be a bit too much of an expectation subverter, if you ask me. Heck, you know what? I wouldn't even be surprised if he came back next volume on a hot air balloon, you know what I mean? In Cinder's case, we see her power to manipulate environments into glass, like shard objects, and throw them at her opponents. I mean, I think we've seen this like several times already on several occasions, but she can also break the shape of a material and reform it for use in battle. Since she's based loosely off of Cinderella, I suppose that makes some sort of sense, right? However, add on to that her maiden powers and some of her other special abilities, and she is basically no longer human, almost like a god tier level character. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in volume 3 chapter 7 we saw her pull out that Grimm looking insect to absorb Amber's power, and this chapter we see her communicating, like literally communicating with the Grimm dragon. So she definitely has a connection to the Grimm, but we don't know exactly to what extent and how she was able to acquire that power. Maybe she is different than the average human, or maybe she acquired the power through some other means. We don't know. I mean, hopefully future volumes will delve into that, right? I mean, all we can say for certain right now is that she's an incredibly power hungry killer. You know what I'm saying? And people better run their ass. Now, by the time we return to the surface, we see that most of the evacuation is complete. Ruby arrives and sees that awful condition of her team. Wise is worn out, Blake and Yang are gravely injured, Nora and Ren are out of juice, while the other students who can barely stand are fending off the last amount of Grimm to allow people to, like, you know, finish the escape. And in the midst of all that, we get that final goodbye, that touching, heartbreaking moment between Pyrrha and Jaune, man. I mean, watching that scene, rewatching that scene after knowing what had happened. I mean, I'll explain what I thought was gonna happen later on. Like what I thought. I didn't think, there was no way I thought that Pyrrha was gonna die. No way did I think Pyrrha was gonna die. So I'll explain to you guys what I thought was gonna happen. But while rewatching that, having known what had happened in my initial reaction, just watching that final goodbye moment, it was a lot. It was a lot. I mean, while watching all of Pyrrha's scenes this chapter, man, leading up to her end was heartbreaking, tragic, and I remember kind of just lost in my own head after experiencing it. I was thinking that it was the most unwise decision to go up there and face Cinder, right after seeing that she was able to defeat her headmaster, you know? Plus, she went without any backup. I can't understand her decision at that point. Was it because she felt that it was her destiny? Did she think she had a chance against Cinder? Was it for revenge, for everything, for Penny, Amber, Ozpin? I mean, who knows? But, you know, here's how I thought that ending of that fight was gonna play out. So I thought she was gonna go up, have her awesome fight with Cinder, and just when she is about to lose, I thought Oz was gonna come back and they would have this epic 2-on-1 fight, you know, headmaster and student against maiden. After which I thought the power was going to be, you know, kind of destabilized inside of Cinder due to her being pushed to the edge by these two incredible warriors. I mean, that's what I thought. And then after, once the power was destabilized within Cinder, I thought it would like kind of release from her body, and then Pyrrha would be able to absorb it again, since she already had a little bit, or it felt like a little bit of already entered into her. I mean, that's what I thought was gonna happen, but things obviously did not go that way, unfortunately. The actions toward the end that these characters made remind us that these characters are indeed, you know, very young, and not all their decisions will be rational. And in the situation they're in, and in the chaos that's ensuing, who can really blame them? There literally are no guarantees in life, and this series paints that quite vividly in these last few chapters, man. Everything has consequences, and this is what ultimately, you know, remains. In regards to Pyrrha's demise, it was one thing after another. Yeah, her fight was like super powered and incredible, and like, you know, she did like crazy Magneto shit, but her aura got depleted. She got shot in her Achilles heel, you know, the same way her reference character was shot, basically. And in the end, she got shot in the heart, same as Amber. And to see her get dusted away like that, which by the way, I still don't understand how she just got dusted away. Is that like a maiden power? Can the maiden like basically disintegrate like biological material into dust, everything, or even like normal material into dust. I mean, I guess they have like power to manipulate matter, but is that a dust thing, or is that like a PG-13 anime thing, or I don't know, man. Actually, you know, PG-13, she got shot in the heart with an arrow. So however, those last moments were designed incredibly well to give off that sort of haunting feeling and do enough damage to us to pretty much traumatize the fans effectively. I remember thinking after all that, like, holy shit, Rooster Teeth, you guys really went for it, and boy did they go for it, man. I mean, this volume did not disappoint. It met and went light years beyond my expectations. So it goes without saying that I'm like incredibly heartbroken. If you guys have seen my reaction, you definitely know how heartbroken I was after that series. My mind was like completely blown in like the saddest way possible, you know, after watching that, after watching this volume. But it's a difficult feeling because although I'm sad, I'm incredibly intrigued by the new limits that the series has set for itself, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Team Juniper will never be the same again as we see them at the end waiting to go on their next journey with Ruby. For Jaune to lose her, it's gonna be heartbreaking to see him go forward. He is also a victim in this. He had no idea what Oz and Pyrrha were doing. He couldn't help Pyrrha when she needed it the most, and powerless to prevent all this from happening, you know? I would assume in later volumes this sort of like, you know, haunts him and maybe plants the seeds for further character development. I mean, it's just sad, man. It's just, you know, sad. Now, obviously, there are a bunch of theories that I want to delve into because I feel like after watching volumes 1, 2, and 3, I'm able to kind of put together enough material to complete my own conjectures of certain things. But yeah, I'll go into that a little bit later. But first, let's talk about Ruby Rose. So in order to talk about Ruby, I really want to bring in something that another one of you commenters have posted. Catalyst1391 actually posted another link to something called Invested in Your Future, a sort of blog-like post where the writer there talks about, you know, the incredible amount of character development that Ruby endured, you know, while going from volumes 1, 2, and 3. Basically, it discusses in incredible detail the transformation that Ruby has had as a character ever since we saw her in volume 1. It follows her transformation from being an optimistic, cheery character who has suffered losses but greatly internalized her inner emotions to someone who has seen tragedy occur right in front of her eyes. She no longer is the same girl who believed in fairy tale fantasy. She's seen how cold their world really is at such an early age, and the damage that it has caused is clearly, like, you know, visible on her face and in her eyes, guys. Her belief and ideology are no longer what they used to be, and we see this in her change in personality, her behavior, her body language. And all this is like, you know, painted in incredible detail throughout the series, and especially in this volume, guys. So thank you, Catalyst, for sharing that wonderful post, and I'll leave the link in the description below so you guys can go see it for yourselves. But this was kind of like a brief summary of what that post really is about. Now, all this change inside Ruby pretty much manifests as these almost angel wings looking power that emanate out from her eyes. Whatever this new power is, it definitely caught me off guard, and it definitely catches Cinder off guard and petrifies the dragon Grimm. I mean, when this happened, I initially thought she might be turning back time to prevent everything that occurred. I mean, I don't know what the hell was going on. I mean, we hear this angelic hymn when her power activates as she sees Pyrrha die. However, Crow later states that it's because Ruby has something called Silver Eyes, which apparently designates her as like this powerful warrior. I mean, according to him, there were other warriors like this in the past, and the Grimm would be incredibly fearful of them because, I mean, well, it makes sense because, you know, they could literally petrify the shit out of Grimm. This, of course, beckons the question, what does this mean for Ruby? You know? What's the purpose of this power, and what does it mean in Ruby's hands? Based on this conversation, it really seems like maybe her mom had that same type of power based on what Crow said. Even Ozpin took notice of her eyes in volume 1, chapter 1, which maybe suggests that Ozpin was interested in Ruby in that regard as well. Perhaps that in conjunction with her combat prowess is what made him accept her into Beacon despite her age. I guess we'll have to see if Ruby is able to call on such powers again in the future, but it certainly opens up an entirely new category of powers and abilities for this series. I mean, this is great world building, guys. This is really great world building, and it gives us fans an incredible amount of material to sort of theorize and predict stuff over. So I really love it. That's awesome, man. That's incredibly awesome. Now, I'm saying awesome, but next we see the kind of state poor Yang is in. I mean, this girl is broken, and although we see the passing of seasons, her outlook seems to change very little within that time frame. I mean, after having suffered what she suffered, I can't imagine her ever returning to that spunky Yang we all have grown to to know and love. I certainly hope she gets back to some, remnant of that, but who knows, However, I do have faith that she'll overcome this somehow. Her father is with her now, so despite RWBy going off on her journey, at least she still got her dad around. I'm sure RWBy stayed as long as she could. However, Yang's state of being right now has her pretty much wrapped in grief, humiliation, fear, loss, all pretty much summing up to an inability to cope. And who can blame her, right? I mean, she's pretty much grown antagonistic to Blake, and understandably so, I think. I mean, she risked her life for this girl, lost an arm for her, and then the girl is nowhere to be found, I mean, I'm sure Blake has her reasons when we literally see her jumping from rooftop to rooftop in the city of Vale. So she's back on her feet at least, but what is she planning and where is she going, Hopefully future volumes will delve into that. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention, Weiss's dear old scruffy ass mustachio papa has come to pretty much take her back home. I mean, I guess he doesn't want his daughter in the kingdom after what has happened there, and I can't say I blame the guy for taking her out. So the fellowship of RWBy is literally broken, and I mean, like, can things get any worse? You know what, I'm gonna stop myself right there, because if this volume has taught me anything, it's to fear the little things, In regards to the aftermath of the battle, Crow mentions that although the city of Vale is okay and under control now, sort of, the school is ultimately uninhabitable, communication between kingdoms has been disrupted, and in the end, we see Grimm have already made Beacon their new pad, their new home, and amidst all the different types of Grimm, we see those giant mammoths. And thank you, Alex Sajek, for sending me this funny comic panel of Oobleck and RWBy talking to each other about the giant mammoths back in volume 2, and talking about how Oobleck was saying not all Grimm are mindless, or rather not all Grimm are still mindless, and these aged Grimm that have existed for hundreds and hundreds of years are waiting for the opportune moment, and I guess this was the opportune moment. They've been waiting for volume 3 all this time, dude, just like you guys. Also, speaking of Crow, I mean, the bird is the word, you know what I'm saying? Like, in the post-credit scene, we see him carrying Ozpin's cane, and I guess he's gonna go look for him, but he jumps off, and then a bird, or I'm guessing a literal crow, pops out and flies off. Yo, bro, are we supposed to believe this drunk bastard can turn into a bird now? Does he, like, secretly have polyjuice potion in that little flask of his, you know what I'm saying? Might his semblance literally be to transform into animals? I don't know, man, that might explain it, but do semblances work like that? I guess we don't know. I will have to see more characters to find out. And finally, to the main question. Who the hell is this crazy Grimm ass looking, ominous and imposing, narrating essence, volume 1, chapter 1, murderous ass ghost lady is this, huh? Now, some of you guys mentioned very early on is wait till the post-credit scene in chapter 12, of course, and go through the credits and you might find something later. And of course, many of you guys said a long time ago that the narrator is voice acted by Jen Taylor. So I did a little bit of investigating. I went down the credits and I saw Jen Taylor's name, and lo and behold, right next to her name is a character's name, and I'm guessing it's the character in the end, and her name is Salem. What the deuce? Just kidding, it's Salem. But yeah, so I'm guessing this new character that's been introduced at the end, her name is Salem. But in case it's not, but I might be mistaken. In case I am mistaken, I do apologize, and you guys can correct me in the comments, and I'll fix how I designate her, how I refer to her in later discussion videos. But the name Salem definitely makes me think of witches, but it really seems her speech at the end is focused solely on Ozpin, and since he is based off the Wizard of Oz, her attire makes me think of the Wicked Witch of the, I want to say West, the one that wears black. Yeah, she definitely seems like she's got some beef with Ozpin, and a reference to him at the end suggests that she knows he is still alive. I mean, does all this mean that she is the main baddie of this series, or is this just the tip of the iceberg, I mean, this certainly opens up a bunch of new questions for sure. I would assume at the very least, this is the she Crow was referring to in volume 3, chapter 3. I remember him mentioning that seeing the things she's made. So what is it that she's made? Is she another maiden with magic powers, or some other dark entity? The area where she is standing literally looks like the landscape of another planet almost. It's certainly not the moon, as we can see the moon in the background, and there are these weird black crystals all around. Plus she's got these weird black veins on her face, and her eyes are completely red. Is she some sort of Grimm human hybrid? Based on her words, she is inviting Ozpin to basically challenge her. At the same time, she's ridiculing him through her words, and she has this dark, ominous, almost poisonous air about her. Not to mention how her mood quickly changes as she is narrating the end of the volume. It was certainly a shift. I mean, the music changed to a much darker tone and more villainous tone. Now, I did revisit volume 1, chapter 1 to hear Ozpin and her conversation, and I didn't notice it before, but their tone towards each other even then was very antagonistic. Even then, she states that Ozpin can prepare his guardians, but there will be no victory in strength. And he answers that victory might be found in simpler things that she has long forgotten. So this is there's definitely some history between the two of them, and perhaps the events of this grander RWBy story are circling around them. Maybe they're the players in this grand chess match. I mean, basically there is a chess piece symbol, in this show, and she has made the first move. But I don't get what she meant by him sending a smaller soul. Immediately I think about RWBy because she's such a cute and small soul, but that might be too much. That might be too obvious. Who knows? Either way, there's a whole lot of freaky shit that's going on in this volume, and I cannot wait to watch more. Wait. And I can't wait to watch more. Oh man. All right. Now let's get down to some crazy ass theories, yo. 3, 2, 1, son! Theories against the moon, son! So I'm really gonna start off this theory section by starting off talking about what we already know about the 4 maidens, basically. Because like I said, after going through volumes 1, 2, and 3 and revisiting some older scenes of the World of Remnant videos and a lot of other stuff that you guys recommended, I have put together a couple of ideas of what I think about the world. I know I'm running the risk of sounding completely silly in case any of these questions I'm addressing have already been answered, but please bear with me. So what do we know? We know the power originated from the old wizard, so there was a source. We know that the 4 maidens can only be women, young women at that, and the power transfers from one person to another person through the last wielder's final thoughts. So the power recognizes pretty much an intimate connection and is tied to an emotional signature. However, if this is not present, then the power will just flow to someone at random. What we don't know is if there's a time limit on this power, or are there any negative side effects or consequences to wielding it. You know what I'm saying? Cinder certainly didn't seem like she was experiencing any negative side effects. Then again, it is magic, and the lack of a cost might be what makes it so special compared to dust and semblance, which seems to be much more finite energy sources. The only connection I see between magic and semblance and aura right now is that they're pretty much all require a soul to be housed in. That incredible distinction between the creatures of Grimm and humans, sort of the light balancing the dark, which also plays into some of my next theories. The thing that's been bugging me about these maidens is that, yeah, sure, they are powerful, but there has to be something more about them for groups like Cinder to try and come after them, right? I mean, what is their deeper purpose or meaning, if they have any? And what is the significance of their power transferred from person to person? One theory I had is very similar to, stuff I've already seen in other animes, like for example, Attack on Titan or Avatar, The Last Airbender. Basically, my theory was that when the power transfers, what if the new maiden acquires the memories of the previous maidens or their predecessors, and thus are able to tap into the past and learn about the history of the world somehow? Maybe in connection to the wizard, the original source of the magic. The other thing is Cinder just after this one maiden? Is the power of the Fall Maiden something special compared to all the other maidens? Or is she after all of them? I mean, who knows? And that got me thinking, what if you brought all 4 maidens together, or at least their powers together? Is it something like, with all our powers combined, we can call upon Captain Planet or something like that? Can one person even wield 2 maiden powers? I mean, who knows? Or is there a limit to that? Or are they trying to go after the next maiden and put the power into maybe Emerald instead? Who knows, man? That'd be pretty crazy, right? I mean, these are basically the kinds of ideas that sort of are flowing in my head right now. So the next theory I got is about sort of the origin of magic in this world, and kind of what I've been able to piece together from several of the World of Remnant videos. So in this world, we see that humans generate auras and semblance, and everyone has it, so it's a natural occurrence, right? However, magic is incredibly rare, and that got me thinking, what if it's not from this planet to begin with? What if it's from somewhere else? Let's say the moon? Maybe when the moon broke, it sent some magic hurtling down to the earth. Now, I'm not that attached to this theory, since once I thought it through, I figured that if that really was the case, then maybe more people would end up having it, I assume. Or maybe people a long time ago gathered it up and found a way to contain all of it within distinct individuals, such as wizards. That leads into the other thing I thought about, which is, what about the wizard? As far as we know, he was the source of magic in the first place, so he himself could be from another world, perhaps the moon, and when it broke, he had to flee to the earth and began to live a life of isolation. I mean, that would explain why he kept himself dormant in his house and unable to form any connection with this world's inhabitants. I mean, we don't know if he's the only one of his kind to exist on Earth, or if there are other magic wielders. Not until the 4 girls came to him did he feel comfortable to open up and grant him his gifts. It could have been his intentions to grant the girls magic so that they can spread goodness in the world, so that the mistakes that happened in his world pretty much don't happen in this one. I mean, I know I'm like drawing reference from a lot of different source material, but that's how I build my theories anyway. And what if the maidens were the ones who went to the 4 different kingdoms and taught people to defend themselves against the Grimm in the first place? Maybe that was also one of the ways that they spread goodness throughout the world, and they used their magic to teach individuals about dust and how to manifest aura within themselves. The final theory that I have is literally about the Grimm. Okay, so basically the next theory I have also concerns the moon, but the opposite side of things. What if the moon was home to all the Grimm, and whenever it cracked, it sent the Grimm down to Earth, and that could be their origin, you know? In the narration of Volume 1, Chapter 1, the narrator does state that in the beginning, man rose from dust, and then came the Grimm. So I would assume the Grimm arrived after man, maybe, but I don't know, maybe after the moon exploded. But I watched it again, and it states that in a strange way that man was born into an unforgiving world. So Grimm could have already existed when man was arising. I feel it could be interpreted in both ways, kind of like a what came first scenario, like the chicken or the egg. Maybe one came first, and in order to halt one's population growth, the other rose up to balance the light and the dark. I don't know. Anyways, I got this idea when I saw the Grimm dragon spawn smaller creeper Grimm from its belly. Got me thinking about, you know, what if after they arrived on Earth from the moon, that is how they reproduced and pretty much shrouded over the planet, assuming their role as the dominant predators and subjugating all of humanity in fear and torment. Plus the fact that they have no soul and are so biologically different from humans makes me think they're otherworldly, almost alien-like creatures possibly. And then after they arrived, humans adapted by developing the power to fight against them, learning how to use dust and technology. And in this case, I would assume that the maidens came along after the rise of the semblance and aura and dust, you know? So those are all the basic theories that I got on me right now after, you know, listing everything down and pretty much taking a whole bunch of notes and figuring stuff out. I hope you guys enjoyed that. What did you guys think about my theories? You guys can leave down in the comments below. As always, if you guys are enjoying the content I'm providing, please consider subscribing, guys, hitting that like button and sharing the content with any other fans of RWBy out there. And it's been an incredible journey getting to the end of Volume 3, and I cannot wait to watch an incredible amount more of RWBy. And definitely I'm going to be checking out RWBy next, as well as the trailer for Volume 4 and the RWBy Volume 3 soundtrack as well. So although Volume 3 has happened, although Chapter 12 has left us heartbroken, there's plenty of stuff to look forward to in Volume 4, I feel like, and I cannot wait to watch it all and share my thoughts and ideas with you guys going forward. So thank you guys so much for watching with me and for sticking around till the end of this video, and I'll see you guys later in the next one, guys. Until then, have a wonderful day or a wonderful night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys later. Bye! Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe, hit that like button, and feel free to share the video, and I'll see you guys next time.